seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hey.
Oh shit. Okay, I was on a delay, guys.
You're good. You're good.
Look, guys. I'm dressed up tonight. We got a very big guest tonight. So if I was y'all, I would shout out. I mean, have you ever seen Bloodsport? We have Frank Dux. I mean, literally the guy from Bloodsport, guys. I mean, Miss Janine, how many people do you know has watched Bloodsport?
If they were in our generation, like I was born in 82. So prior to my birth, and then it's our generation and a little bit older for sure. But it is an iconic film that I continue. It's one of those movies that when it's on television, you continue to watch over and over. And it's like the Rocky series, right? Like when you're watching Rocky, you just can't turn it off, or The Godfather. Like that's how iconic Bloodsport is. You just can't turn it off, period. No matter how many times you've seen it. Like it's just, yeah, I love it.
The one thing about, I spoke to Frank over the last few days, and he's got a great story. A lot of stuff people talk bad about him. We've got pictures to show. You know, he really fought into the Kumite. There's multiple people that said they've saw him fight in the Kumite. And, you know, Jeff, Superfan, I think he knows somebody that witnessed him fight a bunch of people at one time.
Oh,
so
wow.
He was talking about that. So what I'm saying is look, we're going to have a total, like I said, guys, I mean, Van Damme played him, guys. When you have Van Damme play you, you done something.
Van Damme was so sexy. Oh my
God.
Look,
that dance he had, that little dance he had in that little thing, he was waving his hips. But, you know, I'm going to tell you what, the coolest thing, when I talked to me last night, this was funny. Jay Davis was on the call too. Jay, I was on the phone with Frank Dux. I was sitting there and my dad said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm talking to Frank Dux." And my dad's like, "Frank Dux, like the Bloodsport?" I was like, yeah. My dad's like, "Are you people, you know what I'm saying? It's Frank Dux." So we got him coming on tonight. He should be popping on. He said he was trying to pop on in a second. And I'll look and see if he got on. But also, we're going to be doing the Brawler Lottery tonight too. So everybody get in the chat, shout it out for the Brawler Lottery. We're going to ask the 3 questions. You get the 3 questions, you get the Brawler. You get the 1,000 coins. You just got to download the wallet and everything. We're going to be doing that too.
The questions are good too. We got some good questions.
Yeah, I mean, last week, I mean, let's just be honest. Before the show, everybody was like, "Man, your questions are kind of hard, Coty." I threw easy questions out that everybody knew, and everybody missed them. So there will be a chance to hit that. Hey, Jay Davis, add Chachi. Tell Jay to add you to that group chat with Frank and help him get on StreamYard. He's having a problem getting on StreamYard. I see him in a chat and I can't look down. So Frank is trying to get on the show right now. We're going to blame it on StreamYard, guys. StreamYard, thank you. But anyway, so like tonight, Miss Janine, like I could ask the question, what movie was about Frank Dux? That could be one of my questions. And
totally.
I'm not even going to tell you the answer right now, but I'll let you figure it out during the show. That might be a question. So, but I'm really looking forward to it. He's popping on. And guess what happens next week? We got BYB 8 coming up next week.
Yes, we do. BYB 8. I'm still trying to figure out my outfit, Coty. I know you're dressed in like Revolutionary War or like
possibly. Okay. There's no telling right now. We are still possibly. I might dress like a ninja. We don't even know yet. It's awesome. Crazy. But no, let me look real fast to see if Frank's in the box. I don't know. Let me make sure. I know he was trying to get on.
Jeff's in the box.
Jeff's in the box. All right, I'll pop. Hold on a second. Somebody pop Superfan on the show. Hey, tell Frank.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Miss Janine. How are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you? I'm super. How about that? I'm super.
Wow, you took the words right out of my mouth. I am super as well. Thank you for asking.
I love your shirt. It's got the skull. You know, that's my thing. Like, loving it.
Stilettos and skulls?
Yes.
Nice.
Love skulls.
Skulls and stilettos.
I'm a big fan. Yes.
I got that super backwards there.
That's okay.
But yeah, absolutely. This I might as well throw the plug in right now. USG Fight Gear. My man Howie Lee, the king of custom gear. Give him a jingle dingle the next time you want to look and feel unstoppable.
I love you, Jeff. You're the best.
Thank you. I hope there's no hard feelings over words that I said to Mr. Ryan Dalton. As I hope you know that I am on your side. I like Ryan. Coty, I'm still kind of tossing it up in the air, but I do like you. Cody's been phenomenal. You know, he gives me opportunity to come on to the show. Tonight I had to super hack my way in, but you know, he's a good guy. I'm starting to kind of see where he's coming from. He might win me over. But you, my dear, I have absolutely nothing but positive things to say about.
I love that. Is so sweet of you. I saw your plug on the show the other night with Mr. Dalton. So I definitely appreciate the plug and the kind words.
Perfect.
So thank you very much. That was so sweet, and the feeling is absolutely mutual.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
And
this
like
is exciting. What do you about this guest tonight? Let's hop right in because I'm just so excited. Oh, I think he's in the box. I think he's coming in.
I hope he is, because look, I'm shaking. I got spirit fingers.
Spirit fingers.
I asked Jeff last night. I said
super jitters were in, absolutely.
I said, this is Frank Dux right here. You know, this is like talking to, like if you're playing sports, you're talking to elite of the sports. I mean, we're getting an opportunity that, I mean, let's just be honest. Van Damme played him. That's what I tell everybody. If you can get somebody like Van Damme to play you.
Yeah, that's where he
yeah.
Spirit
Mr. Frank, thank you for coming on tonight, guys. Everybody, we have the legend Bloodsport was made about him on tonight. Mr. Frank Dux on tonight.
How y'all doing today?
Look, Mr. Frank, man, it's just, I've been telling everybody. I was at Walmart today. She said, what you got going on tonight? I said, I'm going to talk to the legend Frank Dux. This little old lady said, you mean the guy from Bloodsport? I said, yeah, that guy. So everybody knows you around here.
Same as up here in Canada. Absolutely. An absolute living legend. And it's an honor to be able to super hack my way into the BYB Brawler Network by Turp House Farms and be able to talk with you right here on their platform. It's an honor, sir.
Well, pleasure's all mine. I don't make many appearances. I kind of keep to myself.
You're like Elvis.
Well, maybe. Certainly in martial arts world, they call me the king of Kumite.
There's a good reason for that.
That's right.
I was going to ask you. So we were talking last night. A lot of people know the movie. A lot of people know everything. But the cool things you're doing now to everything. Yeah. However you want to start this off tonight. You just start it off. If you want to start like the beforehand, going into it, whatever you want to do, we can go with it right now, sir.
Sure. I was going to start with the fact that, I've kind of come out of retirement for a good cause. One of the things I'm doing right now is I'm the U.S. representative for the organization, the World Organization for Peace. This is the organization that actually bridged the gap between North and South Korea, reunited families. We put together power plants in countries that don't have any power. In Africa, for example, they built a $40 million power plant. I just did a program right now where we were able to put in 400 kids into martial art programs that they will be able to stay with from kids all the way to adulthood. Everything's paid for them to become black belts and hopefully open schools in their own area and serve their communities around the world, especially in areas that have very little economic support. I really believe martial arts is a key to being a better person in your life. It teaches you to have a good heart. if you have the right teachers. Unfortunately, in the United States, it's unregulated, and it's just silly. I'll be honest with you. What I see, I closed a majority of my schools in the States because, honestly, I didn't want to even be associated with what was going on. Give you an idea how corrupt it is. It's like I've done probably more for martial arts than anyone. The MMA is an outcropping of blood sport, as you know. Yet you'll never see my name inside an American martial art museum, you know. You'll never see any of that because of all the racketeering that's going on. You have people throwing these halls of fame, and they're taking people who are pedophiles, people who have no business being in any kind of care of children, and they're making them sound like they're 10th degree black belts, MMA world champions. I mean, it became a joke to the point, you know, one of my friends actually paid the money and had his dog, you know, get a championship title.
Wow.
Hey, you can do that. Yeah, I've heard people can do that.
Yeah, and the worst one is the one I think in Atlantic City. It's like a big zoo. It's run by a guy named Alan Goldberg. He's tried to get me out there for years. Now he's calling me a fraud because I'm on this campaign to put an end to this kind of shenanigans and nonsense. And of course, a lot of people are supporting him around that because many of them, you know, depend on him for their so-called honors and belts and what's going on there. And I just have to shake my head at the whole industry in the United States, again, because it's unregulated. I'm trying to bring regulation to it. I'd like to see laws enacted where there's a level of competency for a person who opens a school or plans on teaching, just like in any other profession. And this is a profession. I dedicated my life to this. This is not, you know, just look what feels good, what comes to my imagination, and it's going to work. There's, you know, body biomechanics that have to be learned. There's safety concerns that have to learn, how to sanitize a mat so someone doesn't get a staph infection. These are things that are real concerns, and they're just not being looked at. And a lot of the reasons is because part of the culprits are actually in the regulatory agencies that would have been looking at this. You have no idea how many guys are FBI agents or working for district attorney's offices who are teaching, who have no business teaching. And so they basically negate any opportunity for this to happen.
I agree with you on that. There's a lot of people that shouldn't have power that's got power out there that's doing a lot of bad things.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, the idea you'd never see when I was a kid growing up in the martial art industry, when there was black belts were few and far between, you'd ever see this kind of backbiting, backstabbing, gossip, speculation, degradation going on like you see today. It just didn't occur, you know. I remember you walked into a store, a martial arts store, and I remember a guy walked in. He said, "Oh, I want to buy a black belt." And the guy says, "Well, who's your teacher? Where's your certificate?" And they gave the guy a 3rd degree. Today, you can go online, and not only can you get that black belt, you can get it engraved, and you can have all the certificates in the world to go with it. You just pay the right price. There's a guy out there, like I was talking to some of the fellows, you guys, yesterday, that he's a 6th degree black belt in Shotokan Karate. And yet when I sat down and talked to him, he thought when I was talking movements and I was talking about, you know, different things, he thought I was talking about food. All right? Food, you know?
Oh, Lord.
Look, I believe you. Look, I would tell you, Miss Frank, there's a gym right down a dojo right down the road from my house. And last year, this guy came up to me and he said that it was one of those weird ones where it was kind of weird. He said, I'll show you how to do this, blah, blah. And I said, okay. And he said, well, you're going to come spar me today. But he said, look, I want you to punch me, but don't try to punch me in the face. And I was like, okay. So we were doing it. He wasn't doing none. And then a kid said, punch him in the face. And I actually punched him, and I'm not an expert at nothing. And I hit him, and he fell down. And I was like, this is not good. And somebody said that he was doing the same thing. He bought his belt from somebody in Hollywood. There's a karate guy. I can't think of his name in Hollywood. And he done some stuff with him, and he's been ripping a lot of people off.
Yeah, and the public needs to be protected from it. And that's one of the reasons I founded Dux Rue. It's kind of a Dux Rue really means flows from Dux, but Dux is in the Latin use of the word, in addition to being my name, it really means best of the best, what flows from the best of the best. And so we become an umbrella organization or family or fraternal order where we have Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, Judo, Karate, you know, I could go on and on. Of course, I don't have black belts in all those systems. It would be impossible for me to learn all those things. You know, traditional systems, I can learn the biomechanics that they use, but certainly not how the system's organized, how it's taught, etc. But you'll see them all part of our organization, all under the same umbrella, because we're all committed to excellence and helping each other. And that's, you know, open to anybody out there who really has the stones and has got the dues paid. Hey, contact me. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to bring you in and be part of a fraternal order here. And we're really committed to excellence, like the AMA is committed to excellence for medical practices. And it's become the standard here in the United States. You know, there's a certain amount of confidence you have when you go into a doctor and he's an AMA board certified doctor versus somebody who says he's a doctor.
It's true.
And martial arts can be the best experience a person can have. It also can be the worst. It can be the most damaging to a child you could ever imagine. And I'm just tired of these guys getting away with this kind of stuff and doing this. And especially when they're trying to be role models and they go in the back room and they're doing drugs or dealing drugs. You know, what's that all about?
Yeah, it's a crazy system that is currently in place. And it's wonderful that you're trying to make a difference and bring something better to the table. Can you speak a little more on that? Like what steps you're taking to bring this into floration? Well,
the first thing starts with my appointment. The second thing is I'm going to start lobbying the lawmakers and see what we can do to regulate it. Maybe put a lot of this under the child labor or child supervision acts that are in place. You know, like if you're a daycare institution, you have to meet certain guidelines. I think that's really important. I think we need to put some kind of licensing in place regarding that. I think every person who opens a school or is teaching children should have to pass a background investigation and should be drug tested.
Absolutely.
We're talking about, you know, little beings here that do not have the cognitive ability to know the difference between many times what's right and wrong.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
And what's going to be affected. And the same guy I was talking about, who's really on this campaign to destroy my reputation. I mean, here's the irony of the whole thing. And I can see why he's very concerned and why he's really doing everything in his power to stop me and undermine me. And that is simply because he himself, his instructors and his school systems were convicted of pedophilia. 6 young girls were assaulted by a man he empowered.
I agree with you on this
right now.
I agree with you.
Yeah, he's going to do everything in his power to attack me, say I'm not who I am or I haven't done what I've done. And it's amazing the amount of people that come out of the woodwork to try to do that, including a former partner of mine, writing partner named Sheldon Lettich, who took credit for Bloodsport. Now, he did write the script, but Sheldon goes out and says how it's a creative work of his. It's not a creative work. If you go to Black Belt Magazine in 1980, I gave an interview on the Kumite right then and there. So he didn't create anything. And if you look at the first 4 paragraphs of his own contract, it says he's a work for hire, that they got the story from me, that he's hired there to research it and do a based on true story. And when I say based on, that doesn't mean it's word for word a docudrama. That's not what happened. Right. What it was is it's taking events in my life and putting it together in a entertaining format. And that's really important. And it's unfortunate that, you know, I see this guy attacking my character, but there's a motive, and most people don't understand the motive. And that is, if he can break out and say what I did is fraudulent or this, that, then he's free to try to create a sequel or write a Bloodsport 2 or whatever without my character or whatever and get that produced and move along in that way. And that's what my case with FM Entertainment was about. They exactly did that. They started a campaign attacking me, saying the event never happened. There's no proof of my instructor that exists. Yet if you were to go to ancestry.com today, you can basically look it up and you can see Senzo Tanaka. You can look it up. You can find him. You can find his history. A reporter
I was going to ask you that. Was that the picture? Was that the picture you sent me? Was that the picture you sent me? That's what I was going to ask you. The picture you sent me, was that him?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Did you know? Yeah, that's Sheldon Ledge.
Yep. I was talking about
right there.
Okay, that's what I was making sure. Okay, I was just confirming.
By the way, that document comes from the National Archives, and I got to say, I was helped because of my position and because of what I've done. Certain people who are really want to be trained by me did their homework, you know. And I got to say that as much as the bad stuff is out there, the reason I don't dispel it too much or make it easy for people is it's a great filter to really find the kind of people I want to train. I mean, in my position, you can imagine how many people come forward. So I'm looking for, you know, independent critical thinkers, people who do their own homework, who are hardworking. And those are the people who generally sift through all the garbage that's on the internet about me. And they find the truth and they go, whoa, what's this? And that's what happened in this case. Of course, this particular person who did this, his name is Adam Gregory McKinley, and he basically is the due diligence expert for the UN. So she had no issues pulling up the databases and looking at everything I've said and validating them.
Wow.
You know, I don't know what more I can say about that. And it's, to me, it's kind of ridiculous how people are behaving sometimes on the internet and listening to these idiots. Like there's a site called, I think, BSMA, Bullshit Martial Arts. It's on the internet. These guys are just a piece of work. I mean, if you look at them, you see what they're able to do. It's just, they lie constantly, and it's about basically attaching themselves to other people and using mudslinging to advance themselves and clickbait their site. They attack me all the time. One idiot on there says he's my worst nightmare. Honestly, I don't think about the guy at all. In fact, I wasn't even aware of his existence till maybe a couple of years ago.
Your haters are the biggest fans. Your haters will watch everything you do. So always remember that.
I'm watch this tonight.
It's great. Wave at them. Wave at them.
Oh, can we do that? Can Chachi put up the wave for the haters?
Oh yeah, Mr. Dukes, we got you something right here.
We got this for you, just for you. Ready?
Yeah.
Coty and I tend to do that on several occasions because we know exactly what that's like. Obviously, not on the grand scale that you do, but we're getting a taste of that.
We're not as big as haters. You got a lot. We're kind of like, you know, McDonald's right now on our hater level. You're like fucking Ruth Chris. You got the big haters. So, I love. Check this out, Mr. Frank. My dad's probably watching the show right now. My dad never watches anything I do. But I mean, when I was a kid, your show came on. Bloodsport was on TV so much. And Miss Janine, I hear her, but I don't see her. She had a question about the show. She said that was her favorite movie of all time. And I was gonna get her to ask you about it because she saw it.
It's funny. Yeah, I mean, not to pop in, but what's funny about this is my maiden name is LaRusso. So you can imagine growing up with the last name LaRusso, the Karate Kid, everyone would always make fun of me. They were like, oh, Janine, wax on, wax off. And it was like a whole big joke. And then, of course, when Cobra Kai came out, it was like, woo, everyone knew my last name, right? But I think from an early age, because I grew up in the 80s, I was steered towards martial art movies because my last name was in such a famous film. So when I originally saw Bloodsport, I was telling Coty before we came on here that movie has been a favorite of mine since I was a child. And I mean, it's one of those films that when it comes on, you just watch it over and over and over again. I mean, I could watch it on repeat, and every time it's on, I just watch it. It's entertaining. It's a story. It's intriguing. It makes people go, wow, this stuff existed. The story behind all of it too is just so intriguing. So I thank you for helping my childhood memories.
Well, you're most welcome. The one thing that gets me is, like I was saying about these haters and using just common sense. Okay. I didn't just say, oh yeah, this is my story, make it. And they just ran out and made it.
Yeah, I know, right?
There's attorneys involved. Before they could put the credits on the end of the credit roll, they had to pass all sorts of due diligence requirements because it's a publicly traded company, because you don't want false advertising going out, and I could go on and on and on. But I've had to pass due diligence on my claims and what I've done for the movie studio, for HarperCollins when they did my book, The Secret Man, when I worked in law enforcement, for the military, when I was teaching, elite forces around the world and police forces around the world. I'm the keynote speaker for the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association. I'm the only 2-time in a row keynote speaker. I have that distinction. I'm one of the few people who actually taught at the police academy in Mexico City, elite tactics. I'm an adjunct faculty member for the Criminal Justice Institute of St. Petersburg, Florida. Just to give you an idea of what I've had to go through as far as scrutiny. And yet all of that kind of like falls to the side. And then you get idiots like this one guy, his name is Steve Lampert. He's a Hollywood stunt guy who basically did the choreography on the Quest. And in my contract, when I originally did it with Jean-Claude, the project was called Enter the New Dragon, or Enter the New Kumite, something like that. I can't even remember it right now at this moment, but I think it's Enter the New Dragon. Anyways, the point is, in my lawsuit, it says specifically, and this is on Court TV, I was suing on the fact that I was not present and paid and compensated as the fight choreographer. Yet this guy goes out and makes a statement I would never in a million years make, and claim that, oh, I told him, okay, mind you, he's the only one who heard this at a table full of 20 people at the time, that I was the person who did the choreography on the Quest. I would never make such an idiotic statement. You see my point? So they're not even good liars. That's my point. But these people say anything, do anything to get themselves noticed, promote their books, and they do it at the expense of other people. And then they turn around and say they're martial artists. No, I don't think so. Your actions are not in keeping with the teachings.
Yeah. I respect what you did at that court case. A lot of people might need to go watch it. A lot of stuff you said, you really were close to Van Damme, and you were wanting to see him get better. And I watched it last night because I remember. It's unreal what you said. I mean, can you talk about that now?
Sure. I broke down on the stand and cried at one point.
I know.
I realized how far my friend had fallen. And that what people don't understand, that day I cried on the stand in a way. They thought I was crying over like loss of money or what happened. I wasn't. I cried because I had offered the other side a settlement. I said, look, just take care of the court costs. That's all I want. Okay. And I want a commitment where Van Damme goes in counseling and deals with his substance abuse, and he visits his children, that he actually keeps that up, and we can end this right here, right now.
Wow.
Okay. That's all I wanted. All right. That's what I told him.
I watched it last night.
He said it from the case, and that was turned down. And I was like in shock. Like, I realized then I lost my friend. I realized this man had lost his way. And I loved Jean-Claude. I still have feelings for him. I watched people around him destroy his life, leading him to bad choices, turning him on to substance abuse to control him. And this was a pure kid. I mean, when I met Jean-Claude, he was a young kid who wouldn't even look at a steroid pill. Okay. He was so proud of the fact he was so pure. And then I watched the degradation. I watched him lose his way, and it was just heartbreaking to me, I was really, I was touched by it.
No doubt. I have a question about the time when you and Van Damme were on set. Is it true that you guys had a disagreement, a misunderstanding, and you actually asked him to come meet you up on top of the Victoria Hotel? And then when he got
that's
up
a
there,
very true story. What happened was,
can you talk about that a little?
Yeah,
we got
Bloodsport. We got into on Bloodsport, and he was just,
what?
He was being himself in a sense of he was trying to prove himself, assert himself with me, and so I'll meet you on the top of the Victoria, hotel, and we can, I'll show you I know what I'm talking about, because he wanted to change the choreography. I said, man, that's not going to fly. That's ridiculous. And that would never happen, and he got really upset about what I said, because it hurt his pride. And so what happened is I went up to about 15 minutes before he would arrive. I knew he'd do that. And what I did is I walked all the way out on the ledge of the Victoria Hotel. And if you look at the beginning of Bloodsport, you'll see these two skyscrapers identical next to each other. That's the Victoria Hotel, and you'll see a red awning that goes on the outside of the building at the very top, and around it is more of like a decorative kind of piece. I walked out on that. That was the platform. I walked right across. I was there, and when he came out, when the door opened, he couldn't see me. He says, I told you he wouldn't show, blah blah blah, because he had a whole entourage with him. And I turned around and said, hey, I'm over here. This is where you want to fight. We fight. Let's go. This is where we do it. And I did a jumping, spinning heel kick, 60 stories in the air, landed on a piece that's about 2 feet, about 18 inches wide, actually. And I said, let's go. And he just looked and goes, you're crazy. I go, this is what real Kumite fighting is. Sometimes we fight on the roof, pal. This is what happens. This is what it is. So what happens, we can deal with it right here, right now. I don't care what happens in the movie. And he respected me from that. He never raised his voice to me ever again. He raised it to everybody else. He never did it to me. He respected and trusted my choreography from that point on, to the point that's why Bloodsport is what it is, and why he kept bringing me back to work on films with him.
Lionheart.
Because the choreography is something you want to go see over and over and over again, and that's because of the realism in it. I mean,
so let me ask you, did you create the famous spin kick for him? That was his move. Everybody knows when Van Damme, does that little kick. It came from Bloodsport? Was that basically you?
I got to tell you, I was famous. It's actually kind of an interesting come about. I was famous for my jumping, spinning heel kick. Okay, they used to call me the Flying Horse because of it. Then there was a guy who imitated that, and that guy taught Jean-Claude. And so I never directly taught him that kick. He had that already in his repertoire, to be totally honest. But the way he did it was slightly different than me. He did it more of a ballet move where he has both legs extended. Whereas when I did my spin kick, I would tuck that rear leg right under my groin. There's no way you're going to get that.
Wow.
And one of the reasons I did that is because I could explode into another kick by doing that. I could double kick you. So there's slight variances. But if you look at a picture of Jean-Claude Van Damme and me when we were young, and I won the Kumite, we're identical. I mean, that's one of the reasons he got picked for the movie, is he looked just like me.
Yeah.
And I'd seen him in a movie called No Retreat, No Surrender. And actually, you'd have to even go to a picture older than that. I think I sent you a black and white of
yeah, I got you. I think I got that other one. That's what I was looking. And I got one more.
He moved like me.
There we go.
Yeah. And he moved just like me. And you can see, the similarities between us, of course, how we've aged differently. But from the beginning, we looked so much alike, you couldn't tell. In fact, some people have actually mistaken old pictures of me for Van Damme and which was kind of funny, including his own attorney in our lawsuit.
I think I had a childhood fantasy of Van Damme. I mean, he's just, I think I had a childhood fantasy of Van Damme. I mean, what girl didn't? I mean, he's just gorgeous.
Unfortunately, limited to girls. I think that was one of his
downfalls.
No, he was in the what do you call it, the gay market. He was very popular.
Oh, sure.
He had that dance he had in Bloodsport. That's what I was going to ask you. Well,
No, that's not Bloodsport. He did that in
no, not Bloodsport. What was that other one?
He did that in Double Impact.
Double Impact. I was gonna ask you, did he get that from Bloodsport though? Because he did in Bloodsport. He had some moves too. Did you dance around in Bloodsport?
I don't recall that in the movie, but you know.
Oh, Frank, I have a quick question for you from a friend of mine. She wants to know if you're single. If
I'm single?
Yes.
Oh no.
Okay.
I'm very happily married to a wonderful woman.
She's watching, so she'll see this. That's great.
She was, good. You know, one of the lead investigators for a national law firm, and she was one of the people who helped in the case that broke up the NXIVM ring. That was the Hollywood sex cult ring.
Oh yeah! Wow.
And she helped rescue the number of celebrities out of the cults. Wow. She's going to be, I think, featured on.
That's crazy.
It's.
I watched that whole Netflix.
I think
wasn't there a whole Netflix?
Yeah, I think it's HBO.
Amazing! Oh my God! If you guys haven't seen it, the NXIVM, the special, it's amazing, amazing.
Yeah. And so she's behind the scenes in that. In fact, so much so, she was one of the very few journalists that was actually allowed to sit in the courtroom and hear everything testify. She's one of the people who actually knows what really went on with Epstein. I mean, heard it firsthand, where very few people got that information. My wife got into this because of me, actually, because I was asked to help Catherine Oxenberg by one of the lead investigators in this by the name of Frank Parlato. He's the journalist who broke this all open. And Frank said, hey, we got some issues. And I ended up trying to help her get her daughter out of the cult and also protect her. I remember even facing down with my wife. We ended up facing down an actual, what looked like a hit team that was parked outside her house for like 3 weeks. And they were getting ready to do something. And they were known for being violent with people, scaring people.
That's fucking crazy.
Like cult leaders. And, you know, I walked right up on them, and they didn't expect that.
Well, you're Frank Dux. You're Frank Dux.
I've done a lot of that stuff in my life. You know, I try to use my skills for the right reason, and when you do, you have a certain protection. I really believe that.
I've had 50 questions, Mr. Frank, right here, literally on my private message about this one person. And before they tell me, I don't ask them, and I lose my family and everything. Was this guy as bad as in the movie? Tell us about the guy the main guy that you followed stuff.
Oh, Chong Li. Well, Chong Li is really a composite of different fighters I fought along in my life, but there's a real Chong Li. He was actually a North Korean who fought in the event, and I mean, he killed a number of people in the ring, and really not a lot through his own fault, because in those days, what people don't understand, the reason they called them death matches is because you were told to suck it up in those days. Nobody knew head traumas. We didn't understand it. So if you got a concussion, you were expected to show up in the gym the next day.
Yeah.
No 3 months off or 6 months off. And these guys are fighting professionally.
And y'all have grappling.
You get 6 concussions consecutively in a row, and then you go fight in one of these events, especially someone as powerful as he was. You know, he'd hit guys with one hit, and they die on the platform.
Wow.
You were really good with your grappling too, because I read a lot of times there was grappling and you could grapple too, and I heard you were really good with some submissions and stuff like that too.
Oh yeah, in fact I did a demonstration for Katana magazine with Alonzo Rosada, and we brought in, I think, the best grapplers in all of, you know, south of the border, and that means all the way to Brazil. And I did a thing where I gave a demonstration on how my methodology, if you use it properly, it'll tell you exactly how to get out of any hold or anything that somebody's doing. And I had, for 2 hours, I had probably the best grapplers in the world put me in holds, and you'd see me just get out of it, one after another after another.
That's always good.
Amazing.
So yeah, I have a very, very specific technology. It's based on the fact that there's only 12 angles of attack with 12 corresponding angles of evasion that'll produce what we call the unguarded moment in your opponent. And when you understand that, then you understand what a principle I call the triangle of force. and some other principles that work with that, you can basically read every fighter that you're fighting, and you can counteract anything that's really coming your way. And it's not based on feeling, it's based on the science. There's an actual science to what I'm doing. You start understanding how the angles work and how each angle has a spot of vulnerability. It's just like what Bruce Lee kind of was doing when he would explain his 6 gates. He taught people that there's 6 gates of when you fight a person, in and outside gates, high, middle, low, and how one gate is open, the other one's, closed, and so forth. So you don't want to, fight a guy in his closed gate. You want to go to the open, you want to target the open area. And, and we see that in boxing, guy throws a right cross, you slip and hit him with a hook and, the liver, you know what I mean? So,
yes.
That's kind of like what it is, so. And there's a science to it. I mean, like I said, there's too many people teaching and they don't know what they're teaching. It's ridiculous. It's like, he does this, you do this. It's why do you do that? Explain that to me. Why does it work? When doesn't it work? And that's why so many people, when you really pressure test what they're doing, it falls apart. It looks great in the dojo, looks great practicing it. But when it comes to real life, all of a sudden, all these different variables that you never counted on come into play, and it doesn't work. And it's sort of like this point karate stuff, It's sort of like, could you imagine a boxing match being conducted that way?
That'd be the most boringest boxing match ever. I mean,
Well, and that's what I did. I mean, I brought the real martial arts to the world and how it fights, and in a venue that was palatable and people saw it, that it inspired enough people to want to do a film. And that's the beauty of Bloodsport. But people don't see what happened before that to get to that film.
Can I ask you a question, Frank?
You guys want to know the real history of Bloodsport, how it really happened?
I do. I was actually going to ask you if Kumite was still in existence today. That was.
Oh, it is, and it's known by different names. And a good example of that is you go to Brazil, it's known as Vale Tudo, and some parts of Asia, it's Sandan. Bare knuckle boxing you see today, for example, bare knuckle MMA matches are taking place today. So yeah, it definitely exists in some form or another. The actual Kumites I did. I think they become relegated to the past because what's happened is people are more inclined to want to watch the Western way of competition as opposed to what I did. So you understand, like a lot of people pose this question and they'll say, oh, I'm a fake because I'd have to have thousands of opponents to get down to fight 60 matches in a day or 3 days or whatever to win my title. Okay. But it doesn't work that way. It really shows the ignorance of people when they're talking about Kumite and what's going on. A Kumite really is a test of endurance. That's what it really is. And what it is you'll fight 20 matches a day over 3 days. I said it in Black Belt magazine. You're fighting a fresh fighter every minute. A knockout can consist of actually physically knocking the guy out or knocking the guy off the platform. You end up fighting 5 guys. They could put them against you 4 times. That's 20 matches. That's the 20 matches a day I was telling you about. And you can do that with just 5 guys. You don't need thousands of people. Masayama, though, he had a big organization. I admire him. He did 100-man Kumite, and he fought 100 different men over a course of 2 days. So he fought 200 men. I want to make that clear. 100 one day, 100 another. Wow. My whole fight career was 329 professional fights. So he did like that in 2 days, to give you an idea.
That's gangster there. That's an OG there right there.
And it's, bare knuckle. In some matches, we were allowed to use a sponge and wrap the sponge around our knuckles at certain times, depending on the promoters. They change up the arena, so you're not necessarily fighting in a square. Sometimes you're fighting in a very elongated platform. Sometimes it's angled, like in the movie in Bloodsport, and you change it. And again, that's because it's a test of endurance, and it's a learning experience. Kumite was never about, and he said this in Black Belt magazine, it's not about putting butts in seats. It's not about having an audience draw. okay, telecast. It's for the fighters. It's a way to test what you know, and it's a laboratory to test yourself. It's a rite of passage. And that's what happens. Now there's gaming that goes on, and that's why it's so private, because gaming is what funds it. That's what pays for the fighters to come from all over the world and test each other. That's what subsidizes it. Okay? That's the reality of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so when you really get down to really want to talk to me about this, it's very easy to explain this stuff. But like I said, you go to the internet and you'll see all these harebrained speculations according to the way they understand things work, which of course they don't, because they never even
keyboard warriors. When they're on
it's more than that. It's really kind of racketeering, because what they do is you have the magazines, the martial art magazines, and they also have different companies, and those companies produce books, videos, the merchandise that they sell in their magazines. And so the magazines are used to pump up their stars, and then the stars sell this merchandise, and the merchandise and product or services is something that they make under a different corporate identity. So they're really not an objective source in any shape or form. They're basically pumping and dumping, crap instruction and crap ideals. And what really gets worse about it is then they start doing things like saying, oh, there's only one surviving lineage of ninjutsu, for example, when they had the ninja boom, and implying anybody else who did that or taught that was a fraud. And a lot of people lost their livelihoods. A lot of people, were hurt by that. And there's no excuse for it, because first of all, ninjutsu has never been a martial art. That's one of the reasons I got canned by them. I said, what are you talking about? Ninjutsu is tradecraft. And it actually was a role-playing activity that was started in 1918. That encapsulated the Rappa, the Supa, the Shinobi, these highly trained elite forces of the samurai. They weren't even separate from the samurai. Although you did have, in the 16th century, that you did have where there was no samurai in certain regions. They were doing stuff. They were there. They were freedom fighters, essentially, because they actually had in one part of Japan territories where there were no warlords until they were conquered.
Wow.
So I know the history. I know what's really going on. I love sharing with people and really correcting things. And I was saying this in 1980. Now all of a sudden, I think there's a guy named Anthony Cummins who's a ninja researcher who's basically reinforced everything I've ever said and brought himself a certain amount of distinction in doing it. But I was castigated for this, locked out, pigeonholed. You imagine this, I did 16 world records in my career. Not one of them was actually publicized here in the United States. And the only human being to punch through bulletproof glass did that in front of 20,000 people, the international press corps in hand. The glass was actually shot. You can see it's shot. Some idiot said it was candy glass. Well, it was candy glass. How come it took me 2 hits? And how come the steel frame that it was in was bent? Wow. It wouldn't, and the glass was still, had still glass in it. So it's ridiculous. Some things that have happened, and the racketeering that's going on. And that's why, like I said, I came out of retirement and I said, yeah, I'd like to do this World Organization piece. I want to put things correct. I want to get the racketeers out of martial arts. And, there's a lot of people who are involved in martial arts who are involved in organized crime.
Yes.
Just to share with you what happened in the 80s, to keep their foothold on this lie where they were making millions of dollars every month. I mean, millions and millions of dollars. They tried to put me out of business. They to the point that my office manager was hit and run with a car. They hit my studio 4 times. They were caught in the act, destroying the evidence that they call for to say prove that I should have that proves my bona fides. Yet here they are, the same people. They're all tied into the magazines. They're all tied into using intimidation and force. To this day, they've made death threats, sent pictures of mafioso that they're associated with, who are actually stone cold killers, to people to shut them up. That's going on in the martial art industry. Wow. And it's time to put them out. It's time to clean this mess up. They have no business being there.
That's intense. I didn't even know that was going on.
Oh, it's crazy.
Now you understand why they adamant about trying to destroy my reputation, do all these things, pigeonhole me for years. You know, I mean, look at Bloodsport. Okay, Bloodsport came out. How many martial art magazines in the United States did you ever see that hit film feature, or myself?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a shame.
That is true. That is true.
Because of this, because that pigeonhole. How come the Martial Art Museum doesn't have anything about me or Kumite or any Kumite fighters? Same thing. Because it's a racket.
Jeff has a really cool story he was going to ask you earlier. He was telling me about, and that people witnessed you doing some badass stuff or something. I was like, hell yeah, I asked him.
So I've got a friend that's over in the United Kingdom. And is this my mic that's making that noise? There we go. Is that better?
Yeah. I hear fine.
So I've got a friend that's over in the United Kingdom, and he happens to be a member of the Hells Angels. He's a prospect. And when I told him today that I would be on talking with you this evening, he said that over there in the United Kingdom, you're known over there in amongst the Hells Angels because there was a Hells Angel that you yourself had fought. And not only did you fight him, you essentially took on the whole crew.
That's true.
And you're essentially a legend in a sense over there in the United Kingdom as well. It's not just here in North America or in the South Pacific. You're known worldwide. Can you speak on that situation? I think he would love to hear this. I know he's watching.
Well, you know, like I told you, this is a rite of passage. It's a test. You get a lot of guys who are like in the Angels who are martial artists, who train martial arts, or just badass guys. They're not afraid to mix it up, and they participate. A number of them. You had Rick Robinson, for example, was a character who the Jackson character was based on. Now, Rick was a member of what they call a biker gang called the Poor Boys out of Venice. But he was only a partial model. Kurt Peterson was the other one for Jackson. My understanding is, I from Rick, is he talked his way into my Kumite in Nassau, or off the island of Nassau, I should say, because it was a private residence. And he had his ass handed to him. And he told the LA Times, he goes, yeah, whatever Frank says is good with me. Well, what he was saying it for is because, I mean, he was out cold very quickly, and he wasn't even awake to even see me win the event, you know. Wow. But he knew I won it.
Right.
I traveled all over the world using my skills, and I put them to the test. And those days, and like I said, we'd have these mini kumites all over. That's why I had 329, wins according to the Black Dragon Fighting Society. It's on their website. Amazing. They tracked it. Yeah. They helped sponsor these fights. And unfortunately, the guys who were there, they're in their 80s. Most of them passed away. They weren't very good about keeping records, the way we would normally do it, because we didn't do it for the purposes of like a WBC or PKA or anybody, but it was there, it was known. Dr. Day was in my corner. He's on video. And if you go to my website, Frank Dux, bloodsport.com, you can see videos there. You have Joe Cinda, who is the vice president of Warner Brothers. She was responsible for, Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, reaching the fame he had. He was at the event. I mean, he saw me fight. He was there because of Bruce Lee. Right. Because Bruce Lee had told him about these events and kept coming to these events. They go all the way back. Lee's Enter the Dragon was based on the Kumite. It was based on the one that I fought, only it wasn't in China and Fahnz Island. It was a private residence of, I believe, it was Huntington Hartford, whose family used to own the South China Tea Company. And so they had started that in Shanghai in the 1920s and 30s. They had done that. They held the event. Amazing. As part of their merchant association, and then the Black Dragons kind of took it over, and it's been going on since. There are certain people that are rip-off artists now. The same guy who runs this rip-off Hall of Fame has now started this thing called the Black Dragon Legion or something, trying to rip off the legacy of fighters like myself and others. Okay, that he basically defames, and he's selling memberships. And anybody who's a member of that is just a puke in my mind.
Yeah.
Because why would you join something that isn't real if you know it isn't real? If it is in the organization, why are you trying to bring confusion to things? You know, and muddy the history of people who've paid for it in blood and sweat and guts, you know.
Well, it absolutely tarnishes the legacy that's in place, and it's a shame.
Well, and it does irreversible damage to them. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people are very innocent when they join because they think they're joining the real thing, but they aren't. So I'm just telling all your viewers, you see Black Dragon Legion, run away from that thing. That's not the real deal. That's a knockoff.
For the viewers that are watching out there, how can they be sure that a dojo that they're going to attend is legit? What is there things in place right now for them that they can back check to make sure that where they're about to go take their child? I've got a 6-year-old.
And here's the worst thing. Some of the greatest instructors have the worst reputations if you go online.
Okay.
Okay. So you can't even trust what's on the internet.
No,
right?
You can't trust
There'll be
internet,
complaints
no.
or this, that. What I tell people is, one, you look for cleanliness. Two, go into the studio and keep seeing, is it the instructors teaching the classes, or is it just a bunch of kids teaching the classes? Who's doing the instruction, really?
Right.
Okay. And it's not a problem if he does have students teaching lower level classes, because that's also a great way to learn. All right, that's important. But if it's all the time, then that's a red flag.
Well, of course, because you have to advance yourself.
Yeah,
with the
but cleanliness is very important.
For sure.
I generally try to get them to warn people, see how they talk, engage them in a conversation. If they start engaging in gossip, speculation, talking bad about the guy down the street, that's a guy who has no confidence. Get away. That's not the guy you want to train with. You want to be with the guy who's confident, who can really relay the information. It's not necessarily the biggest badass in the world. Teaching is one thing, competing is another. Okay? Absolutely. You want to find somebody who's knowledgeable, who's going to instill good moral habits for yourself and in others, who's inspiring. So that's what you really want to pay attention to. It's not even the style, because there's so much information out there you can adjust, you know, accordingly.
Absolutely. And that sounds like it's that kind of people I'm surrounding myself with.
Again, that's why I really am appealing to the viewers out there who are martial artists. Come meet me, come join with me. Let's put together a board. Let's make it a way so people can find a way to disseminate between what's real, what isn't, how they can check things for themselves. It doesn't hurt to do a background check on the school or the school owners when you're doing it. That's very important, especially if you're going to put in your child.
Like a criminal check, or what kind of check?
Find out about the guy and do a criminal background check on the person. Find out who you're dealing with.
Yeah. A lot of people just go for the surface information, and they don't dig deep. And it's where,
it could be as simple as looking at the sex offender registry.
Right.
Okay, you'd be surprised how many guys are out there who are registered sex offenders who are teaching classes, and they're recidivists.
Yeah, jeez.
You know, they get caught, they go to jail, they come out, they do it again.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Aren't there laws that protect people to not open a studio where you're teaching
Unfortunately, children? This is why, like I said, I'm attacked. Why people have gone after me so viciously, because I'm trying to stop this, and the people who are behind,
can y'all hear me?
They're the ones who are.
Y'all hear me?
You know, are basically leading that charge right now.
Wow.
You know, there's a guy named Viking Samurai who's done a series of interviews with people involving me. He's called every enemy that you could ever imagine has a motive to lie. Never questions them. He just lets them have a free platform to go out and bash me or other people, but mainly me. I think he's an earnest person in some ways. He may be naive because he did say some very complimentary things to me, but I don't know if that's the lure in the end. And again, it's like I said, these people are treacherous. They're well known, boast about their ties to organized crime. You know, why would you do business with someone? Why do you even hold someone like that up in high regard? You know, when I was a kid, I got my taste of organized crime and what those guys are like. And everybody, you know, glorifies them in the movies. But the way I remember him was, there was a guy who, he struggled all his life, saved up enough money to get himself a Christmas tree plot to make some extra money for his family. Okay. And I remember this guy in the neighborhood growing up, and he sacrificed every year, everything you could ever imagine to get his Christmas tree lot, you know, and it was only like $45,000 or something. It wasn't, you know, a tremendous amount of money investment for him, but it took him 20, 30 years to save that money to do that.
Right.
Here comes these, you know, gangsters, and they tell him he's got to start paying money to have his lot to them. And then when he ran out and he couldn't pay anymore, you know, they turned around, they burned his lot down.
Jeez.
You know, and put him in the hospital. Okay. That's the way I remember these guys.
Yeah, that's unfortunately is the way they make their statements.
And they took everything from the guy. But the worst part of it is they broke his spirit.
Oh, absolutely. I could understand why.
Yeah, and he was like a dead person, and that's the worst thing in the world. So when people are running around and honoring these guys like this, you know, even the guys who are in the life, you know, it's exciting for them when they're in the life. I know many gangsters. I've been around them. I've worked undercover. I've actually posed as a gangster and been in inner sanctums of this whole thing. Wow. And it is a life. It is a society. They see the world differently than what people think they are.
Frank, I have a question for you.
How
can we get involved in helping? Because now I'm thinking I'm very passionate about this. I mean, I feel like if you have been a convicted sex offender, you should not be around children. Exactly. Let alone open a dojo or open a martial arts facility in any way possible. So how can people watching this get involved in something and help you or your cause to prevent this?
What I'd like to say is just get in touch with me. My email is hanshifrankdux@gmail.com, HANSHIFRANKDUX@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Frank W. Dux. You can find me there, or the real Frank Dux, and get in touch with me. You know, I'm happy to, let's exchange numbers. You know, there's many ways to go about this. I'm only one person, but I'm not afraid and ashamed to ask for help in making this happen. You know, sponsor it. Let's do. I do a thing
bringing awareness
fellowship
to this.
Awards, for example. I want to bring dignity back to people who really deserve the honors and acknowledging them. And people don't pay anything when they come to that event. And we've done them in their 5-star gala events. So we've been doing it in Mexico and around the world. You know, I tried to do it, believe it or not, in Las Vegas about 2 years ago. And the same gangster guy basically started putting pressure on everybody if they went to my event, that there'd be consequences, basically.
They'd be heavied.
And here's the interesting thing about it. The charity I was doing it for even pulled out because of all the drama that was created by this individual. So, yeah, I want to put an end to that.
So the charity loses out ultimately.
Huh?
And then the charity loses out ultimately from that. Because
it was a veterans charity. You know, it was terrible.
Geez.
And let me tell you something. I wasn't going to make a dime on this thing, and I put out thousands of dollars to secure the venue, to pay for the dinners, the deposits, everything, and nobody was paying for anything. I was doing this myself,
right?
And I was hoping that maybe I'll get some sponsors to kick in later, and maybe that'd make me whole. But I had to walk away because of that, and I walked away not because of them, but because the charity didn't want anymore. And it's like, well, why am I putting this on? I'm trying to do this for the right reasons, to raise consciousness and things. So I said, you know, we'll just stick with Mexico and we'll do that. And we did. We had a wonderful we had a wonderful event at the World Organization for Peace, and that's who backs it. You know, the event. I was happy to give out an award to Brad Schwartz, who's done amazing things for the wrestling community. He's actually managed to keep the 50+ over competition group open. He's done it on his own, all on his own dime. The guy's a very successful gym owner. He built Vision Quest chain of gymnasiums in the Seattle area. I got to know Brad personally, a great competitor, world champion, I don't know how many times over. And I was very happy to present him with the FDF award just recently in Seattle. And they went up there and did that for him. And that's what I like doing. I like, you know, bringing back the old customs, educating people, and putting people back on the right path. A lot of people, unfortunately, are victimized by these con men. And the problem is these are the martial art information gateways right now. And they need to go, you know, or there needs to be some kind of policing of them. I mean, you've got this thing called Action Martial Art Magazine, Action Martial Art Entertainment. Biggest crock, the biggest bunch of gangsters you could imagine. Anybody who's trying to do good, they try to tear down. There's a guy named Bodie Sanders, does leadership books. Because he wouldn't kiss this guy's ring, the next thing you know, they declare he's a fraud, and they go after him. And the way they do it is the most cowardly manner you could ever imagine. What they do is they attribute to people statements they never made, and then, you know, hold them up to ridicule for it. For example, they try to say, "Oh, I was a Medal of Honor winner," you know, based on a bogus flyer that anybody can make in their home computer. I mean, just garbage, you know, never circulated by me. The only people who are holding it up and say they're witness to that statement are, again, people who benefit from that, not people around me, you know. And certainly I wouldn't have been able to hold the positions I hold if that were remotely true.
Of course.
So, you know, when you think about all the scrutiny I've had to undergo, you know, for my work, what I've done.
Didn't they want you to be
at the idiot who says, "Oh, you're a fraud," and I say, "Really? Well, tell that to U.S. Navy SEALs because I'm inside their special manuals, the source contributor while you're at it."
Didn't they try to get you in the UFC, the original UFC? You were getting older, up in age, but they tried to get you to do it, and they.
I was 13 years retired. I was, you know, suffering from 2 brain tumors, although I didn't know it at the time, and I was hounded by a guy named Zane Frazier who had actually worked for me. You know, in fact, they say we had a business deal that went sour, and I cheated him in a business deal. How could I cheat him in a business deal when, if you actually did some investigative journalism, you'd see there was a workman comp case. He turned in a bogus workman comps case against me, which means he was an employee, and I fought him on it, and we settled out of court. To get in the first UFC, he basically hounded me for a year, 2 years, because they knew that if I agreed to this, it was great for their pay-per-view. It secured the pay-per-view because of the success of Bloodsport. In fact, the Ultimate Fight Challenge got its name the way it was explained to me by Art Davies, you know, someone in his office, was they called it the Ultimate Fight Challenge because I was known as the Ultimate Fighter, or the Ultimate, and Bloodsport was promoted as the Ultimate Fight Contest. So that's how it came about. In 1988, when the movie came out, I had an open challenge to everybody. You can check with Mike Kersoni, who did Bloodsport 2. And that open challenge happened because Don Wilson had challenged Jean-Claude Van Damme, called him a fraud, and challenged to PK a kickboxing match for $100. I
remember that.
Knowing Jean-Claude was under contract. There's no way he was going to go off tour, not promoting his movie, to go do a kickboxing match. You know, it just ain't happening.
Yeah. Can you talk about Don Wilson? Can you talk about that?
Don Wilson, you know.
I had to ask. That was a big, I hear it all the time.
Every time I met him, the guy's been high on coke, okay? And it shows in the way he retells stories. He tells people, "Oh, I told him I could dodge bullets, and I taught people how to dodge bullets." No, I told Don about a student of mine named Brent Ambrose, who was the SWAT tactics training officer for the Burbank PD, who I trained, who he knows, by the way, and how Brent had literally, what I taught him, he literally dodged a bullet in the sense of being killed, in the sense of that's how the paper wrote it up. The bullet actually scraped his skull as he dropped the way I told him to drop, and taught him how to drop whenever a gun's pointed in your direction. It saved his life. And yet that somehow gets twisted to something else. And he's online talking about it. After he challenged Jean-Claude Van Damme, I called up the Roger Corman's office that issued that challenge, invited Don to fight me. And then Corcione, when that wasn't responded, that's when we put out the open challenge in Barstow, California. And I fought people blindfolded. He talks about it on the Justin Harvey show, you know. So Block Talk Radio, you can hear him for himself. I think I have a copy of it on the website. You can listen to Corcione himself talk about it. You
can find it online. It was online last night. I'll send it to you. I found it. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. You're a very popular person.
Well, thank you. But thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, I in 1980, I had an open challenge to everybody in the kickboxing community when I appeared in Black Belt magazine, for crying out loud. What do you think that was? It was like, here I am. I was trying.
Did you ever talk to Chuck Norris?
I was barred from doing PKA, by the way, kickboxing. They made it very clear I couldn't cross over and do that.
Okay.
And it was a smart business decision on their part, because they knew that would give attention to Kumite fighting, which, by the way, was promoted in the 1960s. MMA goes all the way back, not to the first UFC with the Gracies, but it goes all the way back to the Argyle Hotel in the 1960s with John Keane and a guy named Michael Felkoff. And Felkoff was a fantastic promoter, martial artist, Black Dragon. He was the president of Black Dragons at one point. John Keane founded the American chapter of the Black Dragon Fighting Society in the United States. I mean, and he's featured in Black Belt magazine in the 60s and 70s talking about the Kumite events. So it's not something that was never heard of before. And they had those fights. They had an open challenge where you could go fight MMA style matches, or Kumite matches, as we called them then, right there, bare knuckle in Chicago. And they didn't want that, because it took, when that news of that came out, the point karate world, the attendance dropped. People wanted to go see that. And you see it today. Look how exciting it is. You never saw PKA kickboxing attract anywhere an audience, but you see in just the most mediocre MMA matches today.
Last night we spoke and you told me we could bring this up. At one time, somebody offered you recently a large amounts of money to come back and fight again, didn't they?
Yeah. I was laughing because I was offered $4 million to fight Bob Wall, which would have been elder abuse. That came from a guy named Gary Lee, who runs the martial art. What was it called? The Sport Karate Museum. Okay. And I laugh at that. It was. I mean, my wife pointed out to me. She worked in a law firm. She goes, "Frank, you can't do it. You accept that. That's elder abuse. You're going to go to jail. That's a trap." But at another time, there was a sheikh. He had seen films of me that he'd gotten from his Russian friends, and I was offered $1 billion to go back
with a B.
One B. And because the research he had done with one of the founders of Sirius Radio, and the way they explained it to me is they thought they were going to pull in $2 to $5 billion in pay-per-view.
Wow.
And I was ready to sign. I was in the process of doing that.
Dude, I would have signed a year. I would have signed back then too. I'd have went, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I was in the process of doing it when I got hit with a brass knuckle attack by Zane Frazier. I was at the Draken Martial Art Festival.
Right.
And I got jumped by him and about 4 other guys, and they hit me with brass knuckles, crushed my temporal skull. You can see there's 4 indentations in the skull. I think there's even a picture of it. I sent you the other day where you can actually see 4 square marks on the side of my head. Now, I want to be fair to Zane. I'm not going to say that he hit me with the knuckles, because it was more than one guy I was fighting that hit me while I was on the ground. Okay.
Yeah.
So who knows who did it, but you know, the people around me said it was Zane, and they said he basically cold cocked me. You know, he originally showed up, it was like a WWE moment. He's screaming, you know, I hired a contract killer to kill him and his wife, and I'm like, dude, if I did that, why am I not in jail, and why are you here? You know,
right?
You know, what are you talking about? You want to fight me? You know, because and again, he was hounding me for a year, and my attorney said, whatever you do not throw a punch, do not throw a kick, just grapple with him and hold him to the police car. So just do that, Frank. He says, this guy's setting you up to get leverage on you to probably put you in that fight in this UFC match that they want you to be at. And so when my head was turned away and I'm signing autographs and setting up my booth for a kid, and this is just as the event was getting started, I had my name called out. I turned and bam, I got, you know, I got clipped, and I got clipped so hard that it left me sight impaired, lost my hearing, and you know, and like I said, that it crushed part of my skull because there were four indentations there with the.
He must have been scared of you. He had brass knuckles, a group of men with him. I mean, if he wanted to fight in the UFC, you would have thought he would have came one-on-one at least, right?
Right. Well, and I invited him to fight me one-on-one. He came back later after he did that Mau moment, and he was embarrassed by it with his entourage, and that's when I got clipped. And then, of course, I couldn't go forward. I ended up in a complications from the being attacked because he actually saved my life. Here's the good thing about it. This story, it shows you how life works in mysterious ways. And one way you could say, "Oh shit, man, you excuse my language."
Oh no, you can.
You lost
a
chance to make $1 billion and go on the record and be the most paid-for fighter of all history. Okay, but here's the beauty of it: how much money would you spend to have your life? His attack on me enabled me to get in front of an MRI machine, which was brand new technology at that time. Brand new. Very few people were put on the MRI. And it was during the MRI that they found I had a brain tumor. And I was about a year away from dying.
It was a blessing. Be honest, it was a blessing.
So even though I had that, I lost what we're talking about. Okay? What happened was meant to happen. And very rarely, I mean, I fought guys blindfold. They never get a hit on me. Okay? How did he get a hit on me? It's because of the tumor. You know?
Hey, I believe it, man.
And by the way, I want to say something. Had I hit him, I might have seriously injured him. I had just come back from training, and at that time, like months earlier than that, this happened like in, I think, June, and in April of that same year, 1993, I'd just been the only human being to punch the bulletproof glass. Okay, you know, that's why attorneys were terrified if I hit him. They said, you might kill the guy. You know?
No kidding.
Right? And you can see that on YouTube. And that glass is shot. I'm also going to do a palm heel strike and break in a downward palm strike a Jack Daniels bottle. There's enough resistance on a bottle, if you know anything about it, that you can actually support a car with it. And I'm the only person in the world who's ever done that. And the reason for that is not a matter of muscular energy. It has to do with many different concepts that I try to teach people. And when you learn it, it almost looks like it just disintegrates below you. We've done it with children where you can see a child taking a brick and they look like they barely touch it, but because they're so pure, the thing just crumbles. And
is that Dim Mak? Death touch?
Yeah, it's death touch. Exactly. And it's used for healing. You know, that's what people understand.
Yeah.
The technique is used to destroy a tumor. It's used to it's an old technique for, you know, curing diseases. And that's how and why I learned it. But I did that. Broke 2 champagne bottles with a kick where one leg hits one at groin height, the other one hits at head height without me having to recock the kick. To give you an idea.
Holy shit.
I was traveling to go through one, and that break didn't stop momentum, and I had enough to carry it through to the second. And there's, people say, oh, it was a trick, it's candy glass. Well, it's candy glass. How come there's a report, with the Bushido magazine and their doctor, and they spent 20 minutes taking the glass out of my foot?
Right.
Everybody's
People
gonna
don't see that side. In fact, they came close, I think, on my foot, because I generate so much force that some of the glass actually went into my foot. They actually do a close-up when I do my bulletproof glass break at the same time, because I'd created those two world records in a row, and then my bulletproof glass was the third, all done in a row, by the way. And
wow.
You can see the shards of glass in my foot.
Amazing. Now, is it true that when you were born, like you've got these attributes and that you've done with your feet? Is it true that your feet were actually turned almost the other way around when you were born?
That's true. I was born where
you're faced with adversity like coming out of the womb.
Pigeon-toed to the extreme is what I call it.
Yeah.
Okay. And they actually, my one leg could actually go 180 degrees in the other direction. In fact, my nephew has the same thing, so we know it's genetic. And yes, and because of that, what they did is they put my feet in these steel braces. They forced them. I mean, to give you an idea of the pain I was in as a child.
I can imagine.
Imagine taking your feet the way they are now, and someone twisting it and putting it in a brace and trying to turn them the other way.
Oh.
Okay. So what ends up happening is, again, here's the blessing. My tendons, what happens when you do that? Well, it's like a rubber band. You ever take a rubber band and you turn it?
Yeah.
That's why you kick so hard.
That exactly. And that's why I'm able to do what I do. It's because of first of all, the fast twitch muscle fiber that was created because of that is abnormal. They're now genetically modifying people to be able to do what I was naturally born with.
Amazing.
Okay. So
amazing.
That's really cool, actually, to do what you did to get where you're at now. That's a lot of people they would have quit.
And I think that's part of the struggle. I mean, I was a crippled kid. You
yeah.
know? I was a handicapped kid who did the impossible. The reason my knockouts are so fast is I had no choice but to develop a repertoire of power and speed to get rid of my opponents as quickly as possible, because I had severe asthma, to have lung damage. You know,
that's crazy. That is awesome.
You've taken all of these negatives and you've turned them into positives, and it's phenomenal. I have a motto myself that I can do anything positive that I put my mind to, and so can you. And you, sir, are an absolute. You're that saying personified. You, my man, are absolutely unstoppable, and I'm blown away, and I'm honored to be able to be here talking to you and to be able to tell you this as well, because your life itself, with all the things that you've done and all the adversity that you've faced that, and you faced it square on, and you conquered it, and you've turned it into a positive. And just like what you're trying to do now with the World Organization of Peace, is that what it's called?
Yeah, the World Organization for Peace. Yeah,
for peace. Yeah.
And what we try to do, listen, my whole position is try to promote harmony. I'm trying to promote harmony in the martial arts world. I'm trying to promote it in the sports world. What I do isn't just limited to martial arts. I want to make that clear. But one of my focuses on is, like I said, to get rid of the corruption that's going on right now. And yeah, I'm going to take a lot of hits for it. I've taken hits for it because of the racketeering for the last 40 years.
Okay? Dude, I love it. I love what you're talking about, because like all this Epstein shit going on right now and all that stuff, all the stuff you're talking about, it hits home, because most of the elite are doing this to like our children, and they're taking advantage of kids. And like, if you can help them not have to worry about that's going to save them. That's what I love about this.
And I love kids. I love the people who aren't able to take care of themselves, and we try to do everything in our power to help them. That's the elderly. One of the things I'm really passionate about, and I think I have an answer to restore martial arts back to what it is And I want to introduce a program I call Martial Art Therapeutics. And it's really about how to take the martial arts, teach instructors, get them certified like you would do in the gym business with trainers. And they learn to train up that side of martial arts where it builds confidence, gets rid of PTSD, depression, all the qualities, all the things that people really go into the martial arts schools for. Look, if you want self-defense, you buy a gun, you carry a gun, all right? That's the reality. If you want to look good and get in shape, you go to a gym, you buy a fitness instructor, you do private training. But if you're looking for harmony, if you're looking to harmonize the physical, the mental, and the spiritual side of your humanity, that's when you should be doing martial arts. That's what the real end goal is. You know, and if you can do sport side of it and be successful at it, great. I'm all for that. But everything in life requires harmony to be a joyful person, to have real success. In my life, the only time I had failures is when I forgot those lessons.
Wow.
That's awesome. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, one thing I love, like Bloodsport and also like Lionheart, like you were part of that. Those stories give hope. Like when you watch, there's movies that are not like that anymore. The old school karate movies like that, there was always hope where you overcome the obstacle, you get there and stuff happens. Nowadays, most movies, they don't put hope out there anymore. So every now and then it's good to have some hope come out.
Well, yeah, and the thing about Bloodsport is, remember, he's fighting there to honor his instructor. He's not.
Yes.
The revenge element got introduced because that's what Hollywood wanted. But the real story was he was there to honor his instructor.
That's what I thought was cool.
And reclaim the honor of his friend. Remember, he got his bandana back. And I think a lot of people like that. And of course, because the choreography is very real, you know, I think that's the best card or example of, you know, my legitimacy is just take a look at the choreography, you know?
Dude, it was awesome. I mean, look, everything. And I know we took up a lot of your time, and we're going to, like, we want to dive into all your stuff, and we can do some other stuff with that, because your story is I'm going to tell you right now, your story is one of the best. Janine, Jeff, everybody.
Absolutely.
And I know, and we took up so much of your time tonight, and we don't want to take too much of it up because we know Frank Dux. I don't know what Frank does at nighttime. I had a picture that I was going to put up here before we got you off here. You said it. It was really funny. And let me find it. I was going to tell Chachi. I don't want to say the name out loud because when I say it, everybody know what I'm talking about. This was one of my favorite pictures you sent me. I wanted to end on this right here with you. It should pop up.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Did you guys read the caption?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
When you sent me that, I've done sent that to probably 200 people.
Yeah,
I was like,
you know, it's funny when I first came out in Bloodsport. You know, they had all these Chuck Norris quotes. You know, Chuck Norris did this, Chuck did that, and then some guy came out and he did a bunch of those where it's me against Chuck Norris, which I always thought was really fun. I really wanted to meet him, but I thought that was a fun thing.
That would have been cool. You and Chuck Norris doing those kicks together. That would have been Walker, Texas Ranger.
I would love to do.
Can we arrange that? Can we get Chuck Norris and Frank Dux on the show at the same time?
It's happening. It's happening.
That's
I don't know how.
Hey, Jay's the magic man. He'll make it happen.
Jay, just wink his fairy dust. MMA Queen Jay. But hey, Mr. Frank, like I said, man, it was an honor for you to come on tonight, and I just wanted everybody to hear, like the younger generation, to hear your story, but also the people that lived your story, watched it and stuff. So we wanted to honor you tonight.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I really appreciate that. And all I can say is God bless y'all, and I know you guys are doing some wonderful work here, and I wish you much success and continued success in what you're doing for the sport and for people all around, especially this. I want to mention this MMA Bitcoin that you guys are talking about.
Yeah, MMA coin. Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Wanted to say that and let people know that you guys are doing charitable work with that. And I'm encouraging people, hey, look into it. I don't understand Bitcoin, but I'd advise some people maybe look into that because you can't lose when people are actually doing something with it to help other people. It comes around.
Mr. Frank, we'll make sure you learn about it because we got all kinds of stuff. Because you are right. The cool thing, they send it to charities for like kids to help them fight. Like you were saying, the kids that don't have money. And let's be honest, every kid would go to the gym if their parents took them or they had money. So if they're helping every kid in this world get to the gym and not get bullied, not have a school shooting, and you know what I'm saying, I feel like kids need to learn. Like,
it gives them direction, gives them outlet. It's important. You know, these children today, I mean, what are their role models? I feel so sorry for a child today growing up. The amount of expectation of what they're supposed to do and the confusing messages they're getting. You know, masculinity is toxic. Where did that come from? You know, what idiot came up with that idea?
I know.
It's bizarre to me.
Well, we could talk about it another time. I'd love to.
Oh, no, Mr. Frank, I got a list. I told everybody, I said, they're going to get the short version. We were talking, we got your story, your life, the before everything to just after everything. You should have 10 movies come out right now. So we want to tell your story.
Out there, I'm telling them I'm happy to work with them again. I've thought about doing a sequel and I'd like to do it with them, but it's only going to be me and him doing it. And I want to keep all these idiots away. We work well together when we're left to our own devices.
Absolutely.
I do. Awesome. Look, and as long as you will let Van Damme kick me in the face, like his spinning kick in the movie, if I can come and get,
trust me.
I gotta. It's like an autograph. It's an autograph. You know.
Maybe you get a picture like that, but you do not want to get kicked in the face.
I'll wear a mouthpiece.
At least not the way I trained him. When I trained him, in fact,
well, he's older now. He's older now.
I think it was Mel's on Sunset Boulevard, and I had just gotten through training him, and he had a nice, quiet confidence about him. And some guy came up, just a massive guy, and thought he was going to intimidate Jean-Claude. One kick, man, the guy was out for the night, maybe the month.
It's beautiful how he does his kick.
It was like a Billy Jack moment. I was like, I'm going to kick you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bam.
Did he bounce up and down at the end like he does in the movies and go?
No, it was just one of those moments. I think he was more surprised that it worked as well. I just looked at him and I said, "Told you."
Yes, that's awesome. Your shit works.
I got some great Jean-Claude stories I could share with you guys. You know, I'm really disgusted with people vilifying him, and everybody thinks I hate him, but I don't. I told you at that time I cried. I really think
was unreal.
He was dealing with a lot of issues, and he made some poor decisions, and that's all I'm going to say.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you have a great sense of honor, and that's one of the things that I really respect of you. And yeah, I'm speechless at the moment because of that. You're a man of honor in a world where honor seems to be put to the side, and we got to get back to a place. In my opinion, we got to get back to a place where honor is what it actually is, and it's honor. It's not anything that's blown up or deflated and watered down. It's doing the things that are right, doing the next right thing, and helping out your fellow man. When their chips are down, you should be there to put out a hand and to help them up, instead of kicking them while they're down there.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And like I said, please reach out to me, anybody who's listening to this, if you're really interested in making a difference in this world and us putting everything back on track, restoring balance to the martial art world. I'm here to work with you. I'm not here to be in charge of you. So
that's awesome.
Thank you, gentlemen, and I'll bid you a good night.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was awesome, guys. This was like 60 minutes, Barbara Walter special, Fox News.
Blown away.
Like, we talked about mafia. We talked about, and look, let's just be honest. He wants to help, like all of the stuff, and he fact checks. Everybody needs to look at his fact checks. I mean, he's fact checking people, you know.
Yeah, his website is great, frankdukesbloodsport.com. I've been checking out his Twitter account and the statuses or the tweets that he tweets out. Yeah, he's definitely there for the betterment of mankind, and it's wow. I'm still blown away by this tonight.
This was a positive.
Really appreciate you too.
Oh, dude, this was so positive. That's what I was trying to. I mean, just what he was saying right there. People would pay to come to a seminar just to hear, like, even if you don't respect him, just how he talks about his beliefs and what his principles. It's
absolutely.
What I love about him is it's old school. It's old school principles where
honor.
Masculinity, and what he said at the end really hit me. Men should be men. Masculinity is there for embrace masculinity. It's a beautiful thing. Men being men, men getting in a ring, men getting on a platform and literally duking it out. The whole idea of masculinity, we could get into a whole subject on that because I took a course in college on that. That would just blow your mind. But there's a sense when you're talking about the masculine and the feminine where I love embracing and empowering men to be men. That's all I have to say about that. I think it's great.
I was like some of the stories. I mean, the story when you asked him, Jeff, about the roof thing.
Sure.
I've heard that. I've heard a lot of stuff about that. Isn't that
phenomenal?
I was just like, you know what? And I could see Van Damme walking out with all his guys. He's got that little bounce. You know, I'm a Hollywood star, and he's standing there like, let's go, bro.
And he's out there on a 18-inch wide awning, ready to scrap him out 60 stories up on the roof. Just phenomenal.
You know, and when you train special forces, you work with different things like that, SWAT teams and stuff. You got to be a bad motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, and also, like he said in the thing, he had to have facts about what happened, because that's like me right now saying, hey guys, let me tell you about my life story. A long time ago, there was this basketball league. Nobody knows about this basketball league. I played in it, and I actually beat Michael Jordan. I could say that, and they would never make a movie because it's bullshit. They don't. Right. You just can't say shit to get a movie made, you know? They actually look at that shit. So somebody had to look at his stuff. That's what I'm saying. They just don't fucking make movies for no reason.
No, that's true. And look at the fact of who his wife is, what she does. I'm not a marriage counselor or anything, but would somebody that is in a position like that be with somebody who has had some of the things that have been claimed about him, the false claims that are out there? I think that speaks a lot as well, when you can see that he himself has a super wife, and those two together, man. I think that speaks volumes for him as well, as the people that he surrounds himself with.
What I think too, on a final note, and this is the last thing I'll probably say this evening, is I think that he has lived his life and he has done so much, and he's almost been vilified in that people have just been hating on him and trying to debunk his truths. Right. And I feel like, if social media and all the fact checkers out there had been around when all of this shitstorm was going on, and they were trying to make him feel like he wasn't telling his truth. And I think a lot of the course of his life would be different, because there would have been people sticking up for him and people going, no, you need to read this, or you need to look at this. We were in a different world back then. Yeah. Totally different, right?
And let's just be honest. I used to write magazines all the time for stuff, and I never got on the cover of a magazine. So that's what I'm saying. You just can't make shit up. Just, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's like people want to, they want to take somebody's joy, right, and try to, and also not just his joy. You got to think about me being a little kid growing up and seeing that story. The first time I read those stories about Frank Dux, it pissed me off so bad, because when I was a kid, so it took my hope away. Like, I didn't know I was going to learn how to fight. And you know what I'm saying? I hate that they take the fairy tale away from the kids. I hate the stuff because it kills me.
People are just jealous, and unfortunately, jealousy is one of the roots of all evil, and they say that in the Bible, and it's there for a reason. jealousy and greed can do lots of things to the human soul, but it tries to rob you of joy and truth. And that's just not the case. And I'm so glad that he got to come on and tell his truth. And I hope he comes on again and continues to speak his truth, because he's a living legend and we could learn more. My dad always used to say, I know, or I've forgotten more than you'll ever know. And now that I look back, I think about that now when I'm almost 40 years old, and I think, holy shit, he was right. I mean, the knowledge that this man has is more than I'll ever know. So you might as well just shut up and listen, and you learn a few things. You know what I mean?
Y'all know how old I feel now? You remember back in the 90s, guys. You look at like the 70s and you see John Travolta walking down the street, and you think that's a long time ago. I want y'all to think about something. Right now where we're at, 2002. That's like the 70s. Those kids. So our knowledge is getting there. We're old. We're getting there, guys. But
it's funny you should mention that. Get Carter was on TV over the weekend. I had never seen that movie, and I'm like, Get Carter, and that was filmed in 2000. And
it looked weird.
Stallone made a comment. Oh, I don't play golf, but I'm Tiger Woods, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he said that in 2000. That's a Tiger Woods. That was the height of his career, and I'm thinking,
that was it.
God, that was almost 22 years ago. What the hell?
Right.
Crazy.
That was before all the stuff. But hey,
amazing.
It was a good show, and check this out. I keep forgetting. We got to talk about, and you know what? Frank Dux brought up MMA coin, guys. And if Frank Dux brings up MMA coin and he thinks it's good, what do y'all need to do? So MMA coin, guys, y'all need to get in there, check it out. We didn't do our little brawler show tonight. We were going to do it, but we had a great interview with Frank, and I knew it was going to last long. We're going to give out some tokens, but check it out. They're helping charities and stuff. Frank Dux thinks it's a good idea, and if fucking Frank Dux says it is, what more can you say? And then everybody knows Turp House, or is this Power Hitter? I don't know which one this is. Power Hitter or Turp House? Someone's about Power Hitter. You put your Turp House in the Power Hitter, and you just blow it all out, and then you just hit it hard, and you do the Turp House pokey, and you spin all around. I love the Power Hitter. And then Turp House, the suits. Hey, Jeff got some Turp House uniforms. Now, they won't let us send Turp House stuff over to Canada, but if they do, Jeff, these gummies are top-of-the-line gummies that I know it's put people on the side of the road. Turp House. And check this out. Yeah. We got a Christmas charity coming up next weekend. Full Throttle Magazine and all the cool stuff. Another thing, Full Throttle, it's coming up. Y'all need to get down there, send some toys, send some money, change a kid's life, and do some cool stuff. There's a lot of kids that are having their life suck, man. They do. There's some bad situations, and if you could, $50 to $100 help somebody out. I'll be there with
Chachi. Come hang out. Come see us. Meet us in person. It's gonna be some good stuff.
That's the main thing, and I think Jomi's gonna be there. I think Isaiah's gonna be there. There's gonna be quite a few people there. Beautiful. So everybody check it out. Frank Dux tonight. Be looking forward to Frank Dux popping on the show on a regular basis. And also, guys, be looking for me in Las Vegas. I'm not going to say nothing, but Jeff, you know the conversation.
Absolutely.
And guess what? I'll be taking on everybody in this world by the time this is up. All I'm saying is. Ryan Dalton. It's over.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Chachi, I'm out on that one.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.